I've been debating for a while if I should just make videos instead of leaving long comments, especially when some of the time the combined comments I write while watching the video would pass the character limit. Yes, that's a thing. It's somewhere around 10,000 characters. So I've decided to actually try doing that, at least for some of them that I consider important. Let me know what you think. Of course, that can get exceptionally long in video response form as well. Even without addressing and including literally everything, it was likely to go past the half-hour mark. I don't know about anyone else, but once a video is over about 30 minutes long, I tend to hesitate to watch it at all. So, in response to Deconverted Man's video and its questions, I'm going to actually skip to the things I seriously want to address and split it up. I'm not going to split it up so much based on the order the things were said originally, as based on the actual topics it leads me to. In his video, he starts out by laying out a personal example, which, by the way, Deconverted Man, leaves you open to criticism about your character and past. That's fine. Just pointing out this method does have its risks too. In fact, all useful methods of approaching this topic likely do. It takes him a couple minutes, and it really isn't that necessary or important for what I'm planning on saying here, so if you want to hear it, a link to the original will be in the description. After laying out this example, he asks a few questions. Of particular interest is this.
So, does my intent matter? Well, how can anyone outside of myself examine that?
Of course, intent matters in many contexts. Beliefs matter as well. After all, beliefs inform actions. The entire question of, is so-and-so racist, is a question about matters we cannot directly observe. So then, how can we examine these things? Well, sometimes we can do this fairly directly, by having the person examine themselves. We can ask, for example, why did you say that? What made you choose that particular word? This works best if we can trust the person to be honest, both with us and with themselves. As such, this has an obvious flaw when it comes to determining something others may wish to hide. It's likely to be much harder to get someone to admit something they realize is bad about themselves, and it's going to be especially difficult if we're starting off with an accusation. But if we're going to go this route, while they're giving their explanation, we can often observe more than just the words they're saying. If we can see them, we can observe their body language. If we can hear them, we can observe their tone of voice. We can also observe other details, which I'll get into in a minute, as they're even more important for the other methods. Once we have as much of this information as we can get, we can decide if we believe that they were being honest or not. And from that, we can decide whether we believe them regarding their explanation or not. If we can't directly ask them, or if we don't trust them, we can attempt to infer a possible intent from other information that's available. In the specific question of racism, we could look for a pattern. Do they say these kinds of things regularly? If they have done similar more than once, what do all the instances have in common? Are all the targets even part of the same race? Does this person, or at least should they, understand what they're saying and how it will be taken by others? We may even be able to confront them directly about the matter and see if their behavior changes in the future. Maybe they lacked some important piece of information. Or, if we don't have enough of this more personalized context, we could attempt to look at wider society for answers. If it's because of a particular word, for example, we could see how that word is typically used in society. We could particularly look at how it is used in similar situations or sentences. Is it almost always used to attack based on race or skin color? And is whatever problem we have with it widely enough understood that the person at least should realize the issue? And then we also need to consider this. Can our method of answering this question come to the wrong conclusion? And of course it can! The less information we ultimately have to base our conclusion on, the less likely it is to be accurate, too. But even with quite a bit of information, this is something that we can likely truly never know. Hell, it's actually possible that you may not truly know your original intent. What you think was your intent or why you did it may, in fact, just be an explanation formed later to settle your mind or others' questions. Considering all of that, and considering the type of world I'd like to live in and the type of people I'd like to interact with, I'd add another question to examining the intent. What other possible explanations do we know of? Maybe there are less nefarious reasons that thing might have been said or done. Especially if you don't have many details to go on, consider giving the benefit of the doubt. And regardless, keep in mind that whatever answer you've come to, whatever conclusion you've drawn about someone else's motives, you only have a possible answer. At best, a likely or probable answer, never a definitive one. Though, with enough information and examples added over time, the answer can become closer and closer to definitive. And the fact that this method isn't infallible doesn't mean we shouldn't make any attempts to figure things out. It only means that we should be honest about it, and not claim to know somebody is evil from one or two minor events. Later in the video, talking about having hypothetically determined that something did make the person racist, this question came up.
Does saying sorry or feeling bad about it undo this?
And no, or at least not exactly. It doesn't change what's done. You can't undo the past. But what it does show, or signal if you'd like, is a likely understanding of it being wrong. It suggests that there is something about the previous action that you don't accept, even though the action is your own. We can't actually see inside your head. We can't know if you realize, whether a week later or a split second too late to prevent it from happening, that it was wrong. Well, unless you tell us in some form, that is. So it doesn't really undo anything, but it does add more information. Let's say we hypothetically look at an event and whatever information we have surrounding it, and initially we conclude, yes, that person is a racist. Then, this person comes out and shows that they agree that whatever they said or did was wrong. Or perhaps they'd already done this, but we just find it later. We can then reevaluate the situation and possibly come to a different conclusion to the new question about, is this person still a racist? Though, part of doing this is determining whether or not we believe their apology or explanation or whatever the new information was. But I'll get into that in the next section. Thanks for hearing me out. As always, civil discussion, suggestions, and constructive criticism are welcome in the comments or via social media. Feel free to rate, comment, and share. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe and click the bell for notifications, and check out the description for any sources that I've used.